The Diablo franchise needs no introduction, with its meteoric rise in popularity starting with the first title's PC release in 1997. As an old man, I can still remember watching the introductory cutscene and being filled with dread and excitement at this dark and violent world before me. With such successful reception, the pressure was on for the follow-up in 2000, and to fans' delight, the sequel took a lot of what made Diablo so great and cranked it up to 11, while adding even more on top to create, along with its 2001 expansion, an action RPG that to this day is heralded as one of, if not the best, to take on the genre. A genre Diablo practically created overnight. Flash forward to 2021, and in typical 2020's fashion of remaking everything that was once a success, we have Diablo 2 Resurrected. Have there been changes to adapt to a new generation? Does this ARPG classic still stand tall over 20 years later? Today we take a look at the beautifully bleak world of Diablo 2 Resurrected. Being a 21-year-old game, and still a very popular one, I'm aware that there will be two types of players taking a look into details on Resurrected. Those that have never played before, and those older players like me that have already sunk countless hours into the original, wanting to see how Blizzard have done bringing the game into 2021. With that in mind, timestamps are in the description if you want to skip ahead to the updates only. D2 follows on directly from the conclusion of the first Diablo title, and throughout delivers an incredibly captivating and delightfully dark tale, featuring some fantastic voice work and cutscenes. Something about the aesthetic and tone of this game really stuck with me through the years, and for me, has yet to be replicated. For those wondering if playing the first game is a must to enjoy the story, it does help, and I would advise at least looking up some of the details, as for me the first two games do it so well, but Diablo 2 is still a great ride without all the lore around the first time out. Although not nearly as long or as expansive as more modern titles, D2 gives variety in its 5 acts. From the dark dingy forests of Kundaris, through the bright dunes of Luke Ghislaine, all the way up to the snow-tipped mountains of Herogarth, and this really works well to keep things feeling fresh, to go along with the huge amount of the game's optional caves, tombs and dungeons. D2 gives players a stellar toolset to forge their character, with skills, passives, armor stats, and sets without scaling for simplicity like seen in Diablo 3 or going full-blown cross-eyed spreadsheet mode like Path of Exile. Absent are the abundance of tutorial tooltips and elements explaining its systems, and I do feel like a few of these would have helped the first-time players with the option to turn them off for returning players. There are rare rune words to collect to use to augment your gear, the uber bosses to take on, and even a crazy cow level. Diablo 2 provides longevity in its gear progression system that's easy to get a handle of the basics, but also very deep for those wanting to min-max, as well as its difficulty. Like with a lot of older games, Diablo 2 does not mess around when it comes to its challenges. It does suffer from the odd what the hell was that moment if you just steamroll through. I'm looking at you tiny skeleton bastards in endurance of hate. But as a whole, the game keeps the challenge going, and with it the players on their toes for countless hours of fast-paced hack-and-slash action. For the 2021 remaster, to long-standing players' delight, a vast majority of the core elements remain untampered with. We've been given a much larger, now shareable stash to kill off the arduous and sometimes risky task of muling gear to different characters, automatic pickup of gold, again providing some non-invasive quality of life improvement, an advanced stats screen. This in particular, in my opinion, being a fantastic addition to truly get a reading of what to focus on when farming for loot. Ladder-only items and rune words now feature in the non-ladder and single player, a new Battle.net system, and now of course the console version made with cross-progression, to name the most standout of changes. All of these to run alongside the absolutely breathtaking upgrade to the sound and visuals for this over 2-decade-old game. Both me and I'm pretty sure my neighbours were shocked to see this when it was first announced, and Vicarious Visions have handled bringing Diablo 2 to 2021 masterfully when it comes to its visuals. Ultra-wide resolution support is unfortunately absent due to the limitations of the game running on the back of the original. However, a bonus of this is a cool hotkeyed ability to toggle back and forth from the 2000 classic to the gorgeous looking remaster. One element that has thankfully been retained and even enhanced is the game's dark and depressing atmosphere, with deep darks now tussling with flickering flashes of lights and reflections from fire and spell effects. Now running at a silky smooth frame rate, over double the original's offering of 25, it definitely does a lot for someone that has already played so many thousands of hours to truly feel reignited to rack up a few thousand more. The game being over 20 years old does show in some areas. There aren't nearly as many events, systems and features typically found in more recent times, and those used to running a map 1 minute then jumping through a portal for a timed boss event may find Diablo 2 somewhat barren, but Diablo 2's longevity and replayability is hidden a little deeper than bombastic events and mechanics. It lies in the journey to the higher levels of 80 and 90, farming gear, socketing rune words to boost gear, managing resistances and forging an endgame build to overcome the odds. For me, one of the game's real strengths is the journey as opposed to the rush to the end to tick all the boxes mindset. The moment-to-moment gameplay is so engaging, it's not hard to see why so many titles were inspired by this classic ARPG, and there's something about the setting and the aesthetic in Diablo 2 for me that stands out even to this day. For those thinking of giving it a go, be reassured that Blizzard have not Warcraft reforged this one. It has been truly enhanced and developed to be a fantastic experience in 2021. It may feel slightly dialed back being the age that it is, and it's something to consider if the step backwards from a wealth of game modes for you is a deal breaker. And for returning players, rejoice that although modern times have seen so many former greats be stained by the desire for a cash grab, this time we have seen the true resurrection of a game that for many of us never died. Thanks for taking the time to check out my look at Diablo 2 Resurrected. Feel free to check out some more of the videos on screen for some more RPG content. And if you enjoyed the video, please drop it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. As for up and coming, I've got some more great MMO content coming, including New World, in between the queues and problems with GPUs, as well as some more of the funny stuff, as I've been getting some really good feedback from you guys. Thanks for all the support and chilling with me today, and I'll see you guys in the next one.